Today we are going to talk about the 4 key elements of emotional intelligence and build some skills around how we can get better at emotionally controlling ourselves to make sure that we are not only the best versions of ourselves, but we're also giving the best versions of ourselves to our family, our teams, and the people that we work with. Hey everybody, my name is Natalie Kilborn and I am super excited that you're joining me on my channel today. My channel is all about building faith, family, and business. I have been in business since 2006. I have been a business owner. My husband Corey and I have built multiple businesses into the multi millions of dollars in sales. And we've taken that income and invested into real estate. So we have a real estate portfolio now. So what I really want this channel to be about is I want it to be about investing the lessons that I've learned, some of them the easy way, some of them the hard way. Invest those lessons back into you so that you can grow, you can learn, you can apply these things in what you're passionate about and what you love. So let's get to it. Today, you guys, is about emotional intelligence, also known as EQ, emotional quotient. I literally have pages and pages of notes. It's something that I've been studying literally for years. I've been practicing it, I've been studying it, and to me personally, it's probably top 3 things that I've figured out that make the biggest impact in all areas of my life. My life as a mom impacts me incredibly how I emotionally respond to my daughters. It impacts my marriage incredibly, how emotionally intelligent I am. And also inside of my business and working with our team, emotional intelligence isn't just something, it's everything. So you've probably heard of IQ, right? IQ is like, man, how smart am I? It's my ability to learn. It's word comprehension. It's math skills. It is the ACT, the SAT. If you've got college kids, you know what I'm talking about. That is IQ. It's like, okay, how smart am I up in here? If you have never heard before the word emotional quotient, EQ, or emotional intelligence, it is the ability to understand, use, and manage my own emotions in a positive way. Let's do a quick pre-training audit. Where do you feel like you are? If there was a 1 to 10 scale on your emotional quotient, we're gonna call it EQ from now on, so I don't have to say that super long word. But where are you on the scale of EQ? One study that I read, it said that top performers, they looked at top performers across so many fields, literally thousands of people. They said 90% of top performers ranked really high in EQ. It wasn't necessarily their IQ that gave them the success or that led them to where they were. It was their EQ that not only got them there, but kept them there. So we're going to talk specifically about 4 things to be mindful of, 4 things that we can work on, 4 things that if you can get these 4 things working in your favor, all in the same direction, your EQ will go up significantly. So thing number 1, you guys, this is a good one. Thing number 1 is self-awareness. Think about how you were raised as a kid. Were you raised in a family that just stuffed things? Like, we just don't talk about things. We don't share our feelings. We don't share emotions. You just like put on the, you just put on the face and you keep going. Maybe you're raised in a house like that. Maybe you were raised in a house that talked about everything. Man, nothing was off limits. You were able just to put it out there on the table and talk about everything. And you knew how your dad felt and you knew how your mom felt and everybody talked about it. Or maybe you were raised in a family that was an aggressive communicator, right? Maybe there was a lot of yelling and physical gestures and things when people are communicating emotions that has that bled over into your life in both the good and the negative. So a part of self-assessment of yourself and your self-awareness is, what are your strengths And what are your weaknesses when it comes to your ability to handle emotions? How does it come out? Are you like a fast fuse where you go from 0 to 100 with no looking back? Are you somebody who maybe doesn't communicate at all because that's your method of communication, is just the silent treatment? Are you somebody that maybe has to blab about everything, and maybe you feel like you might be an over communicator on your emotions, where you're like, man, that's all I can focus on. That's all I can talk about. So self-awareness is the first thing. If we don't know what our sort of knee-jerk reactions are to emotions, then it's really hard to sort of diagnose and make corrections. So I'm going to give you a couple solutions on how you can help in growing in your self-awareness. One is to slow down. It's just to slow down. If I could give you one tip that you take with you after this video, it's when an emotion comes up, you're triggered by something, something happens, the day doesn't go just right, your mother-in-law says something, your spouse says something, that coworker or a teammate says something. Tip number one is just to slow down. There's a huge difference in emotional intelligence when you respond or you react. Let me tell you the difference. Reacting is like, bam, there it is. Like, this is my reaction. This is exactly how I feel. There's no sort of pause or thought or, let me absorb the information so that I can respond. Responding is, okay, let me take a minute. Let me just sit with this feeling. Let me sit with this trigger. Let me sit with this thought. And how should I respond to the person, to the activity, to the information? How should I respond to this email? How should I respond to this text message? How should I respond to my kid acting like a wild maniac at me right now, right? I can tell you so many times when I emotionally get myself in trouble, it's when I react. Something comes at me, it emotionally charges me up, and then I just react. And then I feel bad. It's like, oh, I didn't mean to talk to my kids that way. I didn't mean to say that to my husband. I didn't mean to react like that to a teammate of mine. And when I respond, it gives me a minute just to calm down and think and move forward with purpose and intent, rather than just that knee-jerk emotional response. So in self-awareness, one solution is to slow down. Number two solution you can do as you're going through that self-assessment of where are you in self-awareness is to journal. When you go back through that situation in your head and you're like, man, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. I wish I could take it back. Journaling that out or typing it out on your phone, whatever modality works best for you, where you can kind of replay that situation where you're like, okay, this is what happened. Let me separate the facts from the emotion. And then what would have been a better way for me to respond? And that will absolutely help in your self-awareness to like, okay, that's what triggered me. That's what flew out of my mouth. And now this is how I'm going to respond next time. So number one is self-awareness. You have to know yourself in order to make it better, in order to have some solutions, in order to respond differently in the future. Number two is self-regulation. Self-regulation is staying in control. Here's the thing. So many times when we respond emotionally, we're responding to someone else's emotions and we're not thinking about the facts. One of the best things that I've ever done in sort of all of my self-work is figuring out that there are facts and there are details and there are emotions, and they all matter. Sometimes when somebody comes to you with an emotional, like, oh my gosh, this is happening to me, blah, 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 and they're telling you their emotionally charged message towards a certain thing, the best response that I can have, and I'm using my EQ at this, is to ask, what are the facts? Tell me what the facts are so that I can help you move toward a solution. A great mentor of mine, he called me out on it. Well, he's actually called me out on it several times. He's like, Nat, you have a globalization problem. Because I would react by saying, everybody is unhappy. or everybody's mad about their order, or everybody is having troubles with the with our online ordering service, or everybody's orders are late. And he would be like, he would not react to me. He would respond to me and he would say, okay, Natalie, what are the facts? How many people are actually having shipping issues? And I would come back and I would say, well, 3. 3 people are having shipping issues. But emotionally, my mind went to, the shipping thing is down. We're having all these problems, like, penny, the sky is falling. But that wasn't true. It was taking this global feeling of everything's falling apart or everybody's upset and bringing it down to like, okay, 2 people are unhappy in this email and this is the situation we have to deal with. Or 3 people's orders are running late. Let's figure out a solution for them, rather than the, unregulated, everybody's upset. Do y'all see that? So self-regulation is a key element. It's key element number 2 to high EQ. We are going to, 1, have self-awareness on ourselves, like what are my traits and tendencies? Number 2, we're going to have that self-regulation where I have the ability to make choices and I can regulate my emotions inside of a situation. And I'm going to really focus on taking control of that by responding rather than reacting, and just making sure that I am gathering the facts. Once you have the facts, it will help you move forward. The third thing on becoming emotionally intelligent and using that to your advantage is empathy. Empathy. You guys, this is something that I've really had to work on. I don't feel like, some people are naturally bent really empathetic, where you're like, oh, tell me about it. I want to hear all about it. I want to know about it. I want to feel it with you. I want to go through it with you. I have great empathy for your thing. Some people are naturally really gifted in empathy. I don't feel like that's my gift. It's not really my gift. I'm like, okay, what are we going to do about it? Let's go, move on. But empathy is a part of emotional intelligence for me. And I think it can be a part of it for you as well. So when somebody's coming to you with something that's very emotional, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your spouse or a teammate or a coworker, when they bring you something, one of the best things you can do for your own emotional intelligence is to listen. It's not to solve first and listen later. No, for you problem solvers like me, listen to me. It's about listening first and empathizing with that person. Like, okay, if I was in their shoes, how would this feel? The key to raising strong, emotionally intelligent kids is to learning to empathize with them at a young age. I don't know if your kids, your little people are like my little people, but when they were little, especially, before they could really tell me exactly what they needed or communicate effectively with their words, it was like they are emotional terrorists. Let's just be honest. Have any of you been terrorized in a Walmart or in a Target, or quite frankly in your own vehicle, with a little one who is emotionally just completely out of control? They can't communicate it with you. Quite frankly, I don't even think they know what they need sometimes, right? But that minute of empathy for me to be like, oh, sis, I hear how bad you're crying, and I'm really sorry that you have the blue cup rather than the purple cup. The blue cup is what we have right now, but next time, let's get the purple cup, okay? Y'all know what I'm talking about. When you get the blue cup and you should have gotten the purple cup, all heck can break loose. I mean, it's wild. So as we are working on empathy, another thing, and this is one of my very favorite things, I think this is a lesson beyond just empathy and EQ, but it can be used in all areas of our life. Assume positive intent. If I assume positive intent about the person and the situation before I respond, I'm just telling you, it changes everything. Assume positive intent about people and your business partners and your boss and your kids and your spouse until proven otherwise. My goal is to assume positive intent. You see how these all like double down on each other? It's like, oh, when I assume positive intent and I listen, it will give me more empathy, which will create more self-regulation. I'm not just gonna snap off because I have empathy towards how that person is feeling. And all of that is creating more self-awareness to man. When I respond this way, this is the way that others respond to me as well. Like, it's just this full circle, really cool thing. So the last thing, the fourth element to high emotional intelligence is social skills. Social skills mean an emotional intelligence that I can hear good or bad news and I can take it the same. I'm not going to have highs and lows. I'm not going to do it. I am going to be that 70 degrees in social situations to where, man, I don't let the bad things weigh me down, but I also don't let the good things pump me up too high. A great analogy is thinking about like a thermostat, right? Like if I set the thermostat here in my home to 72, I don't have to wonder what the temperature of my home is. It just automatically stays at 72. If it's cold at night, it's gonna kick on the heat and bring me back to 72. If it's hot during the day, it's gonna kick on the air and it's gonna bring me back to 72. That is what our social skills need to be like inside of emotional intelligence. A solution to this is working on conflict resolution. Listen, a social skill that will change your life is conflict resolution. How you deal with conflict with others will absolutely raise your EQ. Another one is to give praise to people. You want better social skills. You want people to like you. You want to be the life of the party. You want all of these things. You treat people how you want to be treated and watch your social skills and your EQ grow. If you want attaboys and attagirls, then you give those out to other people. If you want people to be kind to you, then you show kindness to other people. If you want people to get things done when you ask them to do it, then you be reciprocal and you do the same. If somebody says, hey, can you help me with this? Say yes. I find so often people are like, man, I can't get anybody to help me. Nobody helps me. I can't get any help. And I'm like, oh, well, when's the last time you helped somebody? All of those things will build that element of social skill, which will absolutely raise your emotional intelligence and make a big difference. So in review, y'all ready? Emotional quotient, the elements that are key. 1, self-awareness. To know thyself is to love thyself, right? Get to know yourself and how you naturally what's your tendency. 2 is self-regulation. Once you know yourself and your tendencies, you can absolutely make some corrections and regulate so that you can move forward in a much higher vibration of emotional intelligence. 3 is empathy. Man, let's get good at loving other people. Let's get good at being kind. Let's get good at listening first and talking second. And number 4 is social skills. Let's get really good about giving to people what we want in return. It will absolutely change how people view you, and I guarantee you will get so many more of the good stuff back when you're giving it to other people. So I'm gonna leave you with an assignment. We talked about it at the top of the video. We took a little audit on ourselves. Where do we feel like we are on the emotional intelligence scale? Right? We talked about that. What were you? Were you a 3? Were you a 5? Were you a 7? Maybe you're a 5.5. Wherever you are on that scale, I would audit these things. And the best way for me when I do this is rather than like theoretical or the what ifs, I take an actual situation. So think of a situation, and then I'm going to give you 3 questions to ask yourself. How could I have responded differently? Maybe you reacted. Maybe it was like, pop, boom, bam, there it is. That's a reaction, right? So how could I have responded differently? When you think of that whole situation, you play it out. How could you have responded differently? Number 2, I want you to think of how would a different response have affected the people around me? This is big. How would a different response have affected your kid that day? Like, those are the ones that stick in my heart. How would a different response that day affected my husband differently if I would have responded differently rather than reacting? Because here's the deal. It's not just me that's triggered with my personal emotions. I'm going around like with a loaded gun of emotions, and I'm just triggering other people because of my triggers, right? So how would my response have affected that person differently? This is a really good one. And then the last one is, how did I allow that emotional moment to affect my whole day? So often, something happens in the morning or something happens and it just triggers this thing where we're just now grouchy. We're just now emotional for the rest of the day. How did I allow that situation to control the rest of my day? And I promise, if you work on those 4 things and you increase your emotional intelligence as you go around and you keep asking these questions about situations, man, how could I have responded differently? How did my response affect myself, my team, my family, my spouse, my kids? And how did I allow it to affect my day? You'll notice that those things start shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. You'll see, like, when you start doing this in a pattern, you're like, oh, I'm getting better and better and better. And those windows of like, I'm triggered, I'm not good, I'm emotionally out of control, my whole day is ruined, those periods of time will become less and less and less. Because when you get that triggering email or when you get that response or reaction from someone else and your EQ is super high, you can deal with it in a moment like this rather than your moment being like this and you're like, oh, my whole week is down the drain because I just had a fight with somebody or I just emotionally lost it over something. And then you're kind of in that spiral of sadness and guilt and, oh, I wish I could have done it differently. Let's just do it differently from the get-go. Like, let's just respond rather than react. So I hope you all love this video. I'm telling you, this has changed my life significantly. And if it's helped you, I want to know in the comments below. I'd also love to hear any other topics or ideas that you all have in the future. I probably have 60 notebooks full of decades of learning and experience and everything. And I'm so excited to go through it with y'all. So I hope you love this video and I'll see you soon. Bye.